Hey, it's Dave D here again, and a couple days ago, Dan Kennedy revealed the 7 triggers to controlling the mind of your prospect to get them to buy now. Now, today, we're in an abandoned restaurant. Well, not actually abandoned, it's just closed. I don't know how Dan pulled this off, but this way we're going to be alone because he's going to reveal a secret so powerful that it's going to make your head spin, but more importantly, get your prospects to pull out their wallets and buy from you now, regardless of what you're selling. This is going to be really unbelievable. One of the things he's going to talk about is something he hasn't talked about before, which is the architecture of great sales copy. You're going to love it. So let's go see Dan now. Come on. Hey, Dan, how are you?
I'm good. You're late.
No, according to my iPhone here, which is actually synchronized with satellites all around the world, I'm exactly on time. Look at that. Look at that right there.
According to this, you're late.
Got it. Got it. Okay. I'll have to get me one of those.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
They come in handy.
They do. So listen, we talked about the 7 mind control triggers in our last video, but in this video, what I want to talk about is, number one, I want you to talk a little bit about the architecture of great sales copy, and also we're going to go over 2 of 15 key points. Now, why are we only going to go over 2 of them?
Well, if I give you all 15, I have to kill you. I mean, so seriously, handing these copy elements out loosely,
Right.
without full understanding, you actually can wound yourself. I mean, you can actually
Right.
do harm, not good.
Right. Right.
Which really gets to the architecture issue, of which there are 15 essential elements that should be used in the structure of sales copy.
All right.
Of anything much longer than a classified ad or maybe a radio spot. And an awful lot of people create their marketing messages, even not very good copywriters write copy without a framework, without a skeleton that they are now putting organs into and flesh onto. Some people actually sit down and just sort of write until they run out of gas, and you really can't get to greatness that way. You really can't get to the kind of a message that is not only compelling but has long legs that can serve you for months or years, not just today. And so one of the things that really being able to be an architect of a great sales message does is it allows you to create assets rather than to just create income.
Okay, got it. At a seminar you did with John Carlton, a great copywriter, I'm going to have you talk about in just a second, little known seminar that you did with you and John, you both made the point that writing great sales copy is much akin to a great presentation made by a salesperson. What do you mean by that?
It's almost identical to, other than that the human now isn't there. I mean, the sales copy is really what you would do selling in person, now moved into a media.
It doesn't matter the media.
It really doesn't matter much. Again, there's certain things you can do to help it in print that you might not be able to do online or vice versa. But the architecture is the same. The structural elements are the same. The most important elements are the same. And so people are one of the things you find about the really great ad men of the what people would know as the Mad Men era, and current, and the really great copywriters. One of the things that almost all of them have in common is that they have sold nose to nose, toes to toes, in a home or office or showroom kind of setting. They really have direct sales experience. Halbert sold Encyclopedia. David Ogilvy sold cooking tools, utensils, literally door to door. Kind of if you go through, I think Carlton actually is a rare exception, but most have had hardcore selling experience. And the people who don't, freelance copywriters who don't have that experience, actually start with a handicap, because they're now not transferring what works to media. They're starting from scratch. So the similarity between successful one-to-one direct selling and successful one-to-one direct selling by media is profound. The overlap's nearly 100%.
Now, just quickly, why did you choose John to do, I mean, you could pick any copywriter in the world, but you chose John to do this very, very special seminar with?
Well, first of all, there's the Halbert legacy, but I mean, setting that aside, John is a extremely effective, extremely successful, extremely perceptive copywriter, meaning he not only knows what to do, he understands why he's doing it. He is operating at the psychological level that the prospect is actually at. Carlton has had some killer campaigns and is often successful in relatively difficult environments.
Right. So during this seminar that you did with John, you each did a piece, and you did a piece together. It was really cool. But let's talk about the piece that you did for right now. You talked about, you broke down, you went and you really studied and broke apart some of the most successful marketing campaigns ever created, successful sales copy, from print to all kinds, and you came up with 15 commonalities, 15 that were in all of them. By the way, let me just ask you, how do these differ from the 7 triggers that we talked about in video 1?
Well, the 7 are the overarching sort of umbrella for great copy.
Okay.
And they are very specific, emotional, manipulative places to push.
Got it. Got it.
The 15 element code, it really describes component parts that, again, the more of them that are present in a sales message, the more likely you are to have really extraordinary success with that message.
Fantastic. All right, so we're going to go over 2 of the 15 here and go into a little bit of depth on them. So let's go with number 6 here, and great copy and great sales messages. Answer the question of why this is different.
Okay, so it links to unique selling proposition, unique value proposition, all of those things. But the psychological issue is this. You are very rarely selling something to someone who is a complete virgin about it. Okay? Most of the time, we're actually selling to people who have a number of previous experiences buying in the same category that mostly have been disappointing. So the average new client to a financial advisor has had 3 or more previous advisors. Okay? So somebody got them first.
Right.
But odds are you're getting them 3rd or 4th, right? The person who watches your webinar about your weight loss product has probably tried to lose weight with other products before, et cetera, et cetera. And the consumer's view of that is, first of all, it's not them, even though in 12 failed attempts, the commonality is
Sure.
them,
Right.
but it's not them. right? It's this category of goods or services that consistently disappoints. So the blame is placed on the category, right?
I see.
So when someone has unsatisfactory experiences with 3 financial advisors over 10 years, they will tend to arrive at the conclusion that all financial advisors are A, the same, and B, are full of crap, and are going to do well when the market does real well, and are going to do very poorly when the market does very poorly, and therefore I can only expect a repeat of the disappointing experience that I've had before. Now you can apply that to gyms, you can apply it to diets, you can apply it to almost anything.
The online, how to make money online courses,
Well,
right?
You
Everything.
could certainly apply it to any sort of money-making or
Right.
life improvement thing, right? And so you start really with them there, right? And so your task is to convince them that this time, this thing that is in the same category as all these other things is profoundly different. So all of your prior experience doesn't matter, because this will be different. And so, you know, if Charlie has attempted 5 other ways to start a home-based second business and create a second income, and they have all proved disappointing, even though the cause may actually be Charlie.
Right.
For him to buy the 6th one, he has to suspend his prior experience and believe that it is different. People of a certain age are very familiar with the fall theme in the Peanuts comic strip
Sure.
of Lucy luring Charlie Brown to run up and kick the football.
Right.
And at the last second, she pulls it away, and Charlie flies through the air and lands on his back.
Right.
And every time, Lucy has to advance some reason why this will be the time that will be different,
Right.
and I'm not going to do that.
Right.
And so that's really what you need to do with copy. You have to understand that the person you are selling X to, whatever X is, has already run up and had X pulled away from him at the last minute again and again and again and again and again. So his negative expectations are very, they're big, they're high, they are automatically stimulated by the sight of the thing that's in the same category, and you have to overcome that, transcend it, circumvent it, so that he is convinced that even though this looks like, sounds like, smells like, this time will be different.
Wow. In fact, in one of the 5 sessions, one that John did on his own at the seminar you guys did together, he talked about, he went into USP, you mentioned it, and that's, like you mentioned, that's a direct correlation to this. And I think a lot of people think of USP as like a 101
Slogan.
or slogan, a slogan, right? Or even people who have heard it before and they think they have one, don't really have one.
No, and you see an awful lot of copy that does not acknowledge this prior disappointing experience as part of making the case that this is different. It just goes to the virtues of my thing, right? So this method of making money is really cool because A, B, C, D, E, and F, right? There's no acknowledgement that there are other opportunities. You probably have had some experience with some of them. You probably have been disappointed. Here's why this is that piece is entirely missing.
That's huge. That's huge. So someone who is fortunate enough to see these secret videos, they should really look at the copy just with this one piece. Out of there's 15 of them, but just with what you just said right there, what they should do is look and see how are they making themselves different. But also not only that, letting people know that, hey, I understand that you've already probably done this before, you've already seen this before, you probably had maybe you had negative results from it before. Great. Let's go to number 11 here, which is crisis to opportunity and or privilege. Crisis to opportunity and or privilege. What is that?
Well, so if you if you think about, again, what drives people to actually act, okay? So not just to understand a proposition, but to actually act on it. People are very skilled habitual procrastinators. And if you think about it and you go back to point 6, to element number 6, and you understand that there is this accumulated disappointment with everything I have done before in this category, right? Then moving me to act again in this category is a very, very difficult thing, right? So one of the things that precipitates it, that forces it, right, is some sort of crisis. It's not the only thing, but it is a very powerful force in compelling action, even when I really don't want to take action. And I tell myself, gee, the last 18 times I did anything in this arena didn't work out very well, right? So you may put off a particular buying, decision again and again and again and again for a fairly long period of time until there's a compelling incident or threat or pending incident that forces you, right? So you will often see in B2B, for example, you will see writing on the wall with consumers. So there's abundant statistics that indicate that the overwhelming majority of people who receive unemployment benefits began seriously looking for a job in the last 5 weeks of the unemployment benefits. Now, it doesn't matter whether it's 16 weeks of unemployment compensation or 99 weeks of unemployment compensation. The sort of the threat becomes real only real close to the end of those benefits, right? In B2B, you see a situation where there's clearly going to be legislative activity, regulatory activity, some change in the industry to which they are going to have to react. And you will still see companies run by fairly sophisticated, intelligent, and informed people put this off and put this off and put this off until it becomes a crisis. Right now, I have a client in healthcare, and it's been postponed by executive order from October of this year to October of next year. But in October of next year, presuming there's not another postponement, which is the hope procrastinators will cling to, what Obamacare does in hospitals and medical practices is it dramatically multiplies the number of billing codes that you have to use to get your money.
Okay.
So I'm not going to get the exact number now from memory, but it's something like right now there's 40,000 and there's going to be 264,000. Okay? So right now maybe there's 2 codes for an ankle injury, left side, right side. Now there's going to be 36 codes for an ankle injury, and if you don't get it just right, you don't get paid, and so it's going to take a lot longer to bill. Getting the information from the doctors is going to be a problem. Getting paid because it's going to get kicked back. Wrong code. In other words,
big problem.
Yeah. So, well, actually, we're calling it a coding crisis. Okay. The fast approaching coding crisis, and most will wait to deal with it until it literally is a crisis.
So it's a real crisis
upon them.
Right.
Yes. And the marketer's job is to make that crisis so real further in advance that we can get people to act. But we have to, Kevin Roberts used to say, it's very hard to sell life insurance unless they see the hearse parked in the driveway.
So let me ask you.
So that's what this is about.
Okay, well, let's say that, though, there isn't something that's an impending crisis. Let's say I'm a dentist, and I'm selling prevention. How do I use this?
It's a very bad place to be, generally, is in the prevention business. it's the most difficult thing to sell. So if you think about crisis to opportunity, it's like, here's this crisis. If you don't deal with it, you're going to die one way or another. If you do deal with it, here's this cool byproduct that opens up that you will really like, right? If you don't have the ability to do that, and you are in a pure prevention business, you've got to find a way to make them visualize the hearse at the door, right? So the overwhelming majority of in-home security systems in the country are sold in neighborhoods. They're sold either to the person who has just been burgled, or they have had a adjacent neighbor just burgled. Okay? The next best thing is notices in the community center, and the cops coming around telling people that there's been an increase in crime in your area and you need to take greater care, et cetera. That spikes home security because it makes the threat more real, right? Yeah. Now, nothing makes it more real than you being awakened in the middle of the night by somebody trying to force their way through your front door, and by turning on all the lights and dog barking and you screaming, you scare them away, but you knew they were there, right? That makes it all the more real. Now, the crisis to opportunity or privilege link is important. So some people just write scare copy.
Correct.
And they leave you scared. And most really terrified people don't buy anything.
Right. They're immobilized.
That's exactly right. It's paralytic. Okay? So you have to come out the back door of the fright that you have ginned up, okay, to something that is not only a solution, but has positive ramifications. And so that's a fairly sophisticated, difficult approach to copy that has within it enormous leverage.
Yeah, real power. And what struck me is what we talked about on that first video. This is where you would use some of those triggers to make that person to take control of their mind, like we talked about, and make them really feel, especially if they're selling prevention, or even if they're not selling prevention, making that threat feel, actually make them feel it, control their mind.
So if you take, to use your dental example, if you take implant dentistry for older patients, okay, so the benefits of getting implants versus having dentures or just having bad teeth is essentially you get to chew food without worry of breaking off a piece of the denture, or you can eat an apple. You don't have to take your steak and put it in a blender and liquefy it and drink it through a straw. Okay? Right. So I mean, there's the positive benefits, but where's the crisis in that? Right? A person's problems get worse slowly, so they sort of adjust to them. They become adept at chewing on one side of the mouth. They don't really realize their breath is getting worse, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So the thing that a senior fears most is being stuck in a nursing home. So now you can work backwards to, if you can't properly eat normal meals and take care of yourself. Hearing aids are sold this way. If you can't hear and are perceived as being mentally addled, then here's your destination. Okay? So we're selling prevention, but we're tying it to something that will be a crisis, that is a real threat, that, back to your 7 list, has profound emotional connections. Right? And so this element, again, it's one of 15. You can't always get to it.
Right.
You can't have it in everything. The 15 list is sort of a way to score copy. How many of them have I got, right? If I got 11, I have 11 out of 15. You really know what your score is. So you can't have, it's sort of testing without testing. So you can't always get this one, But when you can, and when you learn how to do it, it drives an enormous amount of response.
And I think you've got to think about it too, and not just immediately say, well, that doesn't apply. I think that's what a lot of people do, because they don't want to go through the mental exercise of thinking, well, geez, how can I actually apply this piece? Because the more the 15 that you put in the copy,
Yes.
the more powerful it's going to be. And again, copy, sales message, video, audio,
Right.
DV doesn't make any difference. And also during the seminar you did with John, you gave example after example and broke down copy and said, hey, look, this is where they use this piece, so people can swipe it and use it. It'd be really neat if people could get a hold of that seminar. Wouldn't that be something
Yes,
if they could?
Oh, it would be terrific.
It would be terrific. And you know what? There might just be a way, Dan. There might just be a way. You know what, though? I think they're I think
Are
they're going
we
to open
being
up.
invaded?
I think they're going to open up this restaurant, so we may be in danger. We got to get out of here. We got to get out of here. Let's go.
Fine by me.
Let's go. Gotta go. I'm taking these notes with me.
Wait a minute, I'm getting my watch.
Stay tuned for our next exciting episode of Make Them Buy Now, where Dan Kennedy reveals how you can easily create sales copy at lightning-like speeds by following a simple formula and an astonishing, albeit little-known sales tool that will get your prospects to buy now. But first, your mission, should you choose to accept it. One of the major points Dan made was the importance of differentiating yourself from others. So below, let us know what your business is and why you are different.